We open tonight's show with this image from Gaza City, the last moments before dawn when Israel reportedly dropped a massive bomb on a local hospital. The windows shatter, inside patients flee in terror. Seconds later, the building is engulfed in flames. That's 1 minute into the air raid. How many minutes will it be until the world takes action? On October, Israel reportedly killed some 24 Palestinians in an airstrike on a school in northern Gaza. 2 days later, the world condemned the strike, calling for an investigation. Today, we have new satellite images showing the damage done. But what kind of damage? Is anyone held accountable? And how many schools must be bombed before the world says enough? The same can be asked of the incident on October 9th, this time at a local market. Satellite imagery shows the extent of the destruction. Again, condemnation followed. But what kind of condemnation? Did anyone answer for this? Anyone answer for this? In the meantime, Palestinian medical services remain stretched thin. So far, 11,000 patients have sought treatment in Gaza's hospitals since the start of October. They include 3,000 children. Where does this leave the people of Gaza? What chance do they have against an occupying force? History, they say, doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. Allow me to introduce you to the Nakba, or catastrophe in Arabic. It was the mass expulsion of Palestinians that took place during the Arab-Israeli conflict in 1948. The catalyst, the establishment of the State of Israel. More than 700,000 Palestinians were driven out of their homes. More than 400 villages were destroyed. These events had a profound impact on the region. Let me show you some vintage photos from back then. These are Palestinians who fled their homes, men, women, children, all walking in search of safety. Some of them were carrying their belongings. Others left everything behind. All of them were leaving their homes for the last time, became refugees in their own homeland. Here's another photo, this time a train. It was used to forcibly evacuate Palestinians from their homes. It was part of a systematic campaign to drive Palestinians out of areas designated as Jewish only. How many lives were lost in these evacuations? Nobody knows. Here's yet another photo. It shows a map released by the United Nations. It highlights the areas from which Palestinians were expelled. The darkest shade of blue represents areas completely destroyed, areas where entire villages vanished from the face of the earth. The lighter shade represents areas partially destroyed. Look at how much of Palestine was affected. Entire regions were empty. Can you recognize these places today? Probably not. This is what remained of the village of Al-Batani after it was bombed by the Israeli Air Force. This is a photo from 1948. It shows the rubble and the despair. Look at these houses. Can you tell how beautiful they once were? This is all that remains of them. The village of Al-Baida was established in 1920. It had all the trappings of a modern town. This is what it looked like in 1947. This is what it looked like in 1948. After the establishment of the State of Israel, same place, different times, 2 minutes apart. Now, let's talk about the village of Al-Maidal Yaba. Take a look at this photo. It shows Palestinian police standing in front of the village council building. This was in 1946. 3 years later, the village was leveled. This is the story of more than 400 Palestinian villages. Now, I know some people will come in the comments and say there is no point in talking about this. We all know the history. Well, I say there is every point in talking about it, because this history is repeating itself in real time. In October this year, Israel launched a full-scale offensive in Gaza. In less than 24 hours, they reportedly destroyed 220 square kilometers of land. It's an area roughly the size of New York. Central Park. At least 15,000 Gazans were made homeless in just a day. Today, 400,000 Gazas are living in shelters. They too have become internally displaced persons. They too are afraid to return home. Meanwhile, aid convoys meant to help these people are being blocked. On November, Israel allowed entry to only 1/3 of the aid trucks lined up at the Rafah border crossing. The next day, the Rafe crossing was shut again. No aid allowed. It's a humanitarian crisis unfolding before our eyes. It mirrors the events of 1948. Back then, the UN tried to help the Palestinian refugees. This is a famous photograph taken in 1949. It shows a Palestinian refugee family. They're waiting to receive food aid outside a UN relief office. Their situation back then was dire. So was their situation in 1950, 1951? 1952, and for decades thereafter. Now, look at these maps. On the left, Palestine in 1948. On the right, Palestine in 2024. A lot has changed. The borders, the names, the demographics, but what remains is the suffering of the people. Then and now, the plight is the same. So is the reaction of the world. Back in 1948, most countries did not want to get involved. They turned their faces away from Palestine. History tells us why. Today, 76 years later, most countries are still turning a blind eye. They're watching from the sidelines as Gaza burns. In the end, it seems like we are doomed to keep repeating the past. Here's one last set of images for you. They're photographs of clocks. Some of them are broken. The hands are frozen at the moment of impact. These clocks stopped keeping time on October, when Israel reportedly bombed a local hospital. 76 years ago, something similar happened. In 1948, a British ambulance was driving through Jaffa. Suddenly, it came under fire. The driver lost control. The vehicle crashed. People inside suffered severe injuries. Let me show you the photograph. Notice the clock on the wall. The hands are frozen. Time stopped at the moment of the explosion. History, they say, doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. It seems the only lesson we've learned in the last 76 years is how to bomb a hospital. And here's a final thought to ponder over. When Israel was formed in 1948, the world celebrated. Leaders across the world sent congratulatory messages. India, too, was one of those countries. Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru sent a message to Israel's first Prime Minister, David Ben-Gurion. That message read, "Hearty congratulations on the establishment of your state. We in India value the contribution of the Jewish community in our struggle for freedom, and we shall always be friends of the State of Israel." Do you remember what happened next? The first war between Israel and Palestine broke out soon after. But who started it doesn't matter anymore. The fact is, it's been going on for 76 years. What began in 1948 continues to this day. It's as if the world wants this conflict to drag on forever. What we fail to resolve, we are doomed to repeat. And on that note, we end this episode. If you like the episode, don't forget to hit the red subscribe button for more updates.